So if you haven't been following the very exciting news this week, Valve announced 3 new pieces of hardware, and that means that they have officially counted to 3, demonstrating that for the first time to the public. Now, I did a video specifically about the Steam Frame, which is the new VR headset. You can check that out up here. But this video is about the Steam Controller and the new Steam Frame 2026 editions. And I want to do something similar where I talk about like the new features and the things that we can expect from the Steam Machine and the Steam Controller. And because they are so kind of linked together, I'm just going to do them both in this video. And I'm basically going to review the most interesting revelations surrounding the 2026 Steam Machine and the 2026 Steam Controller. So let's get into it. Now, this channel and my website, The Bryant Review, are all about free and open source tech, and consequently, I wouldn't be so keen on Valve's hardware if they weren't FOSS by default devices. That is to say, the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame ship with SteamOS 3, which is an Arch-based Linux distribution created by Valve and purpose-built for gaming. This is a big deal since Valve not only uses Arch Linux as their base, but they also contribute upstream to the Arch Linux project, going so far as to pay developers to solve some of their pain points, to extend functionality of their OS, and build out infrastructure that supports the development of Arch Linux. And SteamOS 3 ships on the Steam Machine by default. And if the Steam Deck OLED is any indication, Windows will be a second-class citizen on this device, and rightfully so. Drivers for such bespoke hardware take time and effort to develop, and frankly, the primary focus of this device is gaming. Nothing says, "I'm not a serious gamer" like Windows 11. Shots fired, right? The Steam Machine also ships with a full desktop experience called KDE Plasma. Plasma functions exactly like any other desktop would, a mouse and keyboard-driven experience that will support multiple monitors out of the box. Here we can see Blender on the left and Godot Engine on the right. Now, you can browse the web, you can chat with your friends via Signal or Matrix or whatever, you can develop a video game, anything that you can do on any other PC. And again, Valve is not just shipping KDE Plasma, they are paying Plasma's developers to improve the user experience. Where most for-profit companies see free software as a resource ripe for plunder, the projects that Valve relies on directly financially benefit from Valve's using of their project. So kudos to Valve on that front. Now, I want to take a moment and let you know about my website, The Bryant Review. We have new content being posted there almost every day. As of recording this video, I have 4 articles written and ready to be published on The Bryant Review. I'm so excited about my website. It's become my primary creative outlet. And if you want to help this show grow, you can get subscribed over there. Like I said, we're posting almost daily content over there, and I could not be happier with the numbers and the growth that we've seen. So now that we've talked about the software, let's talk about the hardware. First up, the CPU. Valve says it's a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 6-core and 12-thread CPU, and it has up to 4.8 gigahertz with a 30-watt TDP. Then it has a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 28 compute unit GPU with 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM. It also has sustained clock speeds of 2.45 gigahertz and 110 watt TDP. For RAM, it boasts 16 gigabytes of DDR5 on a SODIMM module. Now, there are 2 storage variants. There's the 512 gigabyte NVMe, and then there's a 2 terabyte versions, and both are expandable with a micro SD card slot in the front. It has Bluetooth 5.3 and a Steam Controller radio. It has a gigabit Ethernet port. It has 17 individually addressable RGB LEDs for system status and customizability. And to be honest, I think this hardware looks great. If you compare it to the average VRAM size of on the Steam hardware survey, you're going to see that most people have an 8 gigabyte GPU. And this thing is built at 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck. Valve says that it's capable of 4K 60 FPS, though it should be noted that more graphically intensive games are definitely going to have to lean on FSR in order to hit that 60 FPS mark at 4K. According to Linus Tech Tips, Valve compared the GPU to an AMD Radeon 7600 XT-ish, Though it may not be an apples-to-apples comparison, given that SteamOS is more efficient than Windows, Valve controls the entire driver stack, and the custom power tuning for this hardware should deliver better frame rates than what you can expect from Windows. For the form factor, well, the form factor of the device is tiny, with the footprint clocking in at just 162.4 millimeters by 156 millimeters. At that size, it's smaller than any ITX motherboard. It's also just 2.6 kilograms or 5.7 pounds. The machine is only 152 millimeters tall, and the height of the device is there to accommodate the custom cooler that draws air through the bottom and out the back. According to Valve, this cooler should work very silently too. And Valve, knowing their customers, know that people will want to customize this thing. That's why they have the front of the chassis has a replaceable faceplate, which will no doubt be endlessly customized by the community. Now, the device has two Type-A USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports on the front alongside a microSD card slot, a power indicator LED, and a power button. Around the back, there is a DisplayPort 1.4 port, as well as an HDMI 2.0 port with some 2.1 features, including 4K at 120 Hz. There's also an AC connector and gigabit LAN. Then there are two Type-A USB 2.0 ports and a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port. Now, as I mentioned, there's an AC power port on the back of the device, and this might stand out to you because that means that there is an integrated power supply fully integrated into the build of this device. Now, this is a welcome change, as many PCs out there are able to shed their extra weight and their volume by externalizing their power supply into a brick that sits between the mains and the actual PC. But Valve was able to somehow keep this thing small and integrate the power supply. Pretty neat here. Now, in terms of upgrades, that's where things get interesting. The new Steam machine has many possibilities, much more than the Steam Deck for sure. For example, the storage lives on an M.2 slot on the bottom of the chassis, and it can accommodate the 2230 drives that we all know and revile in the Steam Deck, but it can also accept the more commonplace 2280 drives. Also, the 16 gigabytes of system memory is on SODIMM modules. Now, according to LTT, Valve has also said that they are hoping to continue their partnership with iFixit in order to deliver replacement parts for the Steam machines as well, like they've done with the Steam Deck for quite a while now. Now, on the front of the device, there's an array of 17 LEDs, which are fully addressable and, according to Valve, user scriptable. So my hope is that there are spare GPIO or serial headers on the motherboard that will allow owners to dive even deeper into modding this thing. That would explain how, they're able to have this e-ink faceplate, though I should note that this e-ink display is not something Valve has planned as a product. It's not going to be at retail. If you want this, you're going to have to do it yourself. There really is no word on how this integrates with the PC, though it could be over the network, which would be honestly very disappointing if that was the case. And rounding out the hardware here, there are 4 wireless antennas. There are 2 Wi-Fi 6E antennas in the rear by the fan, and then there are 2 other antennas for Bluetooth 5.3 and the 2.5 gigabit wireless link with Steam controllers. Speaking of the Steam controller, the 2026 edition of Valve's first-party gamepad has many exciting features, and it might be the device that I'm actually the most hyped for. You might not know this, but I'm actually a huge controller nerd. I've got tons of videos about controllers here on the channel. One of my most popular articles on my website is about the best controllers to use for the Steam Deck. I love controllers. I don't know why, they just kind of do it for me. Anyway, I'm on the record as a diehard Steam controller fan to this day, and that's why I am here for this upgrade. And make no mistake, this is a huge upgrade. The Steam controller has basically every input that you could want from the Steam Deck, but in a standalone unit. There's the A, B, X, and Y buttons. There's the bumpers and the triggers like you would expect. There's also the function buttons like view and menu. There's the Steam button and the quick access menu, as well as the grips on the back. There's also the D-pad, dual capacitive thumbsticks, 6-axis IMU, and dual trackpads. But new to this device are the capacitive grips, which allow for much greater customizability in Steam input. Also included are 2 high output linear actuation haptic motors for HD rumble. This controller also has infrared LEDs that allow it to be tracked in real space by the Steam Frame headset. Like the Steam Deck before it, the thumbsticks here have capacitive sensors in the tips, which we mentioned, and this feature can be customized in Steam Input to enable any number of custom input methods that any game might expect. Now, none of this is new to the 2026 Steam controller, but what is new is the use of TMR magnetic technology. This should mean that the sticks are immune from stick drift. The Steam controller puck is the wireless receiver for the gamepad, and it can work with up to 4 controllers at once. It also magnetically connects to the rear of the Steam controller and allows you to quickly and easily start and stop playing. The controller also has a USB-C port that allows you to tether to your PC to play. The Steam controller also has an 8.39 watt-hour lithium-ion battery, which should allow for about 35 hours of gameplay, though it should be noted that the battery life will be less when playing with the Steam Frame headset. Now, I suspect that the Steam controller is going to cost between $65 and $70 USD, and perhaps the Steam machine will be somewhere in the $650 to $700 ballpark, though some of what Valve has said to other outlets suggest it may be closer to the $800 range. Time will tell. We'll probably know fairly soon what the cost will be. But whatever it is, I am very excited for the Steam machine and the Steam controller, if you can't tell. Make sure you get subscribed to the channel so that you stay up to date with all of the Steam hardware coverage, as this story is going to continue to evolve. And if you want the latest, most up-to-date content about Steam hardware, you can head over to the Bryant Review. That's my news site. I've talked about it twice in this video already, so make sure you get over there and subscribe. And you can also sign up to receive emails every time an article is posted, if that's more your speed. All right, that's going to do it for now. Thank you to these fine folks for becoming members of the channel. It's because of them I'm able to continue making content like this and the stuff that I have over on the Bryant Review. Thank you again to these guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.